You did everything right. You heard the advice, you started investing, you set up automatic transfers, you didn't touch it, you didn't panic sell, you literally followed every rule they told you to follow. And then you checked your balance and thought, that's it? Bro, you've been putting money away for years. Consistent, disciplined, no excuses, and the number staring back at you feels like a joke. That gap between what you expected and what you're actually seeing, that's not bad luck. That's not the market failing you. That's a math problem nobody bothered to explain to you. And today, we're fixing that, for real. Because there is a threshold, a specific number, below which compound interest is basically invisible. And right now, most people are investing below it without even knowing it. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you're gonna see your money completely differently. Let me be straight with you. Compound interest is not a scam. It works. The math is real. But here's the part every chart, every finance bro on Twitter, every get-rich video leaves out. Compounding has a size problem. The smaller your starting amount, the longer it takes before you can actually feel it doing anything. Here's a wild example. You put $50 into an index fund. It earns 8% for a full year. You made $4. $4. You probably spent more than that on the coffee you're drinking right now. Technically, yes, your money compounded. The math worked, but the output is so small, it's invisible. And this is where people fall off. They hear, start small, be consistent, and they take it to mean even $10 a month will eventually make them a millionaire. In theory, sure, maybe, if you live to be 110 years old and the market cooperates for 80 straight years. In practice, you could be retired, gray-haired, and still waiting to feel the compounding from a $10 monthly contribution.
Here's the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to say out loud. There is a contribution threshold, a minimum monthly amount. Below it, compounding is basically invisible for the first 10 to 15 years. And when people hit that invisible phase and don't understand what's happening, they quit. They figure the whole thing is overhyped, they move on. And that is the real tragedy. Not that compounding doesn't work, but that people give up right before it does. All right, let's get into the actual numbers. I'm using 8% annual return for every single example. That's a conservative estimate based on the S&P 500's long-term historical data. No inflated best-case scenarios here. Just real math. $50 per month at 8%. 5 years, about $3,600. 10 years, about $9,200. 20 years, about $29,500. 30 years, about $74,500. Okay, $74K after 30 years of never missing a single payment. That's real money. But let's be honest, that doesn't even cover 2 years of average living expenses in the US. After 3 full decades of grinding, still not retirement money. Now let's try $200 per month. 5 years, about $14,700. 10 years, about $36,800. 20 years, about $117,800. 30 years, about $298,000. Now we're talking almost $300,000 from $200 a month. That's something you could actually build around. $400 per month, 5 years, about $29,300. 10 years, about $73,700. 20 years, about $235,600. 30 years, about $595,000. Nearly $600,000 from $400 a month. And $1,000 per month, 10 years, about $184,000. 20 years, about $589,000. 30 years, about $1.49 million. Read those numbers again. Same 8% return, same 30-year window. The only thing that changed was how much went in every month. And the result went from $74,000 to almost $1.5 million. Let that sink in. The interest rate stayed the same. The time stayed the same. The only variable was how much went in every month. This tells us something that most financial content buries completely. In the early stages, the interest rate is almost irrelevant. Your monthly contribution is doing all the heavy lifting. Think about it. 8% of $10,000 is $800. 8% of $100,000 is $8,000. Same percentage, but $8,000 changes changes your life. $800 doesn't even cover 1 month of rent.
This is also why wealthy people seem to get richer with zero effort. It's not secret strategies, it's not connections, it's size. Someone with $500K invested at 7% earns $35,000 a year from returns alone, just chillin', not working, not doing anything. Someone with $5,000 at 7%, that's $350 a year. Doesn't cover groceries.
Same rate, completely different lives. The only difference is the size of the pile they're compounding on.
So what's the magic number? When does compounding stop being background noise and start actually working for you? Based on historical market data and realistic return rates, the threshold sits somewhere between $100,000 and $150,000 in total invested assets. At $100K earning 8% annually, you're generating $8,000 per year from returns alone. That's $667 per month without contributing a single extra dollar. That is when people feel it. That's when the snowball effect stops being a metaphor and becomes something real you can see on your statement. So, your early years have one mission: get to $100,000 as fast as humanly possible, because that's the number where everything shifts. That's where compounding goes from a quiet process you read about in books to a force that visibly accelerates your wealth every single month. Here's what that looks like in practice. At $100 a month after 10 years, approximately $18,400. Still far from the threshold. Compounding is barely doing anything. At $500 a month after 10 years, approximately $91,500. You can see the threshold from here. Close, but not yet. At $1,000 a month after 10 years, $184,000. You've crossed the threshold. Compounding is now doing real, visible work for you. The difference between $100 a month and $1,000 a month isn't just 10x more money. It's the difference between being stuck in the invisible phase and being on the other side of the threshold where money starts working harder than you do. Headline, Section 4, Phase 1 versus Phase 2. Nobody talks about this. Here's the part most financial content completely skips because it's not exciting enough for the algorithm. Building wealth through compounding has two completely separate phases with different rules. And if you don't know which phase you're in, you'll make the wrong moves every single time. Phase 1, the contribution phase, the grind. This is where 99% of people are right now. You are the engine. Your savings rate, your income, your ability to cut expenses and redirect money, this is what drives your growth. Returns? Almost secondary. Here's proof. If you're putting in $300 a month and you somehow get a 9% return instead of 8%, the difference over 10 years is less than $5,000. Barely noticeable. But if you increase your monthly contribution from $300 to $500, that same 10-year window produces around $15,000 more. Your behavior is the variable that matters most in Phase 1, not the market. Phase 2, the compounding phase, the reward. This is where the math starts running faster than you can keep up with. This is where people say things like, my investments made more last year than my salary. It feels like a switch got flipped, but it's not a switch, it's a threshold. And it hits somewhere between $100K and $200K depending on your numbers. Let's look at the contribution versus return split so you can see exactly how this shifts. Balance $5,000, returns approximately $33 per month, you contribute $200. You're doing almost 86% of the work. You're basically just saving money with a tiny bonus. Balance $50,000, returns approximately $333 per month. You contribute $200. Now it's almost 60-40. You and your money are nearly equal partners. Balance $100,000, returns approximately $667 per month. You contribute $200. Your investment is now doing more than 3 times the work you are. Balance $200,000, returns approximately $1,333 per month. Your investment is doing 6 to 7 times more work than you every single month. That is Phase 2. That's the goal. But you only get there by grinding through Phase 1, the phase where it feels like nothing is working. That grind is not a mistake. It is not a sign you're doing something wrong. It is literally Phase 1 of a 2-phase process. Headline, Section 5, Stop Chasing Returns, the Trap.
Okay, real talk, because this is the trap that catches so many people. You're watching your returns feel small, you think the problem is that you need a higher return, so you start chasing higher risk stocks, crypto, speculative plays. If I could just get 15% instead of 8%, everything would be different. Let's run that math, because numbers don't lie. You're investing $200 a month and you somehow double your return from 8% to 16%.
At 8% over 10 years, that's around $36,800. At 16% over 10 years, that's about $52,200. That's about $15,000 more. Sounds decent, right? But here's what they don't tell you. To consistently hit 16%, you need to take on significantly more risk, the kind of risk that can wipe out 40–50% of your portfolio in a bad year. And when that happens, most people panic and sell. They lock in their losses. They get out at exactly the wrong time and end up worse than if they just stayed in a boring index fund. Now, what if instead of chasing returns, you just increased your monthly contribution from $200 to $350? At 8%, $350 a month over 10 years amounts to around $64,000. More money, less risk, same time frame. The contribution increase beats return chasing every single time when you're starting from small amounts. This is the core insight. In the early years of investing, you are your own best investment. Putting energy into earning more, spending less, and increasing your monthly contribution will outperform risky strategies almost every time. Not because high returns are bad, they're great when they happen, but the math of compounding at small balances is dominated by input, not by rate. All right, let's make this real. Here's what you actually do with this information. Step 1. Treat your investment like a fixed bill, not like whatever's left at the end of the month, because what's left at the end of the month is always nothing. We spend up to our income, every single one of us. The only way to reliably save more is to move the money before you see it. Set up an automatic transfer on payday. Pay your future self first. Let the rest of your financial life work around what remains. Step 2. Set up auto transfer on payday today. Not tomorrow, not when I figure out the right amount, today. Even if it's $100, even if it's $50, just get the habit locked in. You can increase the amount later. The behavior is what matters first. Step 3. Redirect every raise. When your income grows through raises, a better job, freelance work, anything, don't let your lifestyle absorb all of it. Take at least half of every raise and put it directly into investments. Your lifestyle still improves. Your future still gets built. Both happen at the same time. This is how you turn a $200 a month investor into a $500 a month investor without feeling like you're giving anything up. Step 4. Look for small leaks you can redirect. One subscription you forgot about. One less delivery order per week. One less impulse purchase per month. We're not talking about suffering here. We're talking about finding an extra $50 to $100 and pointing it at your future instead. $50 extra per month over 20 years at 8%, that's $29,400 from one small decision. Here's the moment most financial content skips right past because it's not exciting enough to go viral. The person you see right now showing off their portfolio, earning thousands a month in passive returns, they had years of boring, frustrating, completely invisible growth before that happened. They just didn't post about it. Nobody posts about the phase where it feels like nothing is working. Social media shows you the results. It never shows you the decade of consistent contributions that made those results possible. The math shifts slowly. It shifts in the background. You don't get a notification that says, "Congratulations, compounding is now doing 50% of the work." It just quietly happens. And if you quit during the invisible phase, the phase where returns feel like noise, where you check your balance and think this doesn't even matter, you never get to see what the math was building toward. Let me put the full picture on the table one last time. $50 a month, you're playing an extremely long game, decades before you feel anything. $200 to $500 a month, real momentum within a decade. $1,000 plus a month, you can cross the $100,000 threshold in under 10 years. And from that point, compounding starts doing serious heavy lifting. So here's your action step right now. Look at your current monthly contribution. Ask yourself honestly, what would it take to increase it by just $50 this month? Not forever, not some impossible number, just $50 more. Because $50 extra per month over 20 years at 8% adds up to $29,400 from one small decision. Ask that same question next month and the month after. Grow the number slowly, consistently, the same way compound interest grows your balance. Small increases done repeatedly over time become something you can barely imagine right now. This journey is slow at first. That's okay. That's supposed to be how it works. Don't compare your month 3 to someone else's year 12. You can't see the work they put in before the results showed up. You just see the results. Trust the math. Stay in the game. Be patient with yourself because every dollar you put in today is doing quiet, invisible work that you can't see yet. But it is absolutely, consistently, relentlessly working. And one day, sooner than you think, you're going to check your balance and feel it for the first time. That feeling, that's phase 2 saying hello. If this changed how you think about your money, hit subscribe.